Hello and welcome to the first video in the Let's Get Simulating series. In this series, I'm going to explain how to script all the different aspects of a simulator in Roblox. Today's topic is server and client interaction, and there will not be much script shown in this video. And I know what you're thinking. A scripting video that's not going to be showing scripts. But understanding how Roblox works with replication between the clients and the servers is very important. And so you got to master this fundamental topic before you get into making your scripting decisions. To demonstrate how replication works, I have this set up in my workspace. There's server storage. Server storage are things that do not make it to the clients. They're only accessible by server scripts. And that's where you can keep things that you don't want to be in your workspace immediately. The workspace, which is the center of my screen, is everything that will get replicated down to all the clients, and it is your main area of focus. And then we have replicated storage, and that is the topic for today, is how to use replicated storage and what exactly it does. But first, let's look at what I have going on here. I have this chest model, and it, as you can see in the Explorer, it's made out of a whole bunch of parts, and they're just constantly animated. That gets replicated down to my two clients. I have a high-end client and a low-end client, and they are seeing the same content. But as I add more and more of these chests to the workspace, you'll see that the amount of data flowing from the server to the client grows. And this is okay for the high-end client, but the low-end clients will get bombarded with this data and won't be able to keep up. And that's where they'll start seeing performance issues. So how do you adjust what needs sent to each client based on their capabilities? Well, that's where replicated storage and scripting comes into play. So if we take this chest and move it out of the workspace and put it in replicated storage, you'll notice immediately it gets replicated down both clients. However, it's no longer moving, and that's because scripts that are placed in replicated storage don't run. The scripts will be replicated down, but they won't be active. Now, how do we get the chest to appear in the workspace? That's where a stand-in needs to be used. In this case, I have this rectangular part, and I place it in the workspace instead. But okay, now you're thinking, all right, there's a rectangle on each client, but that's not a chest. But you'll notice that since it's just a single part and it's not moving, there's no data flowing, and only whenever you actually move it will a little bit of data flow to each client, which is great. But now how do we make it look like a chest? And that's where your local scripts will come into play. You can use local scripts which only run on an individual client in order to replace this part with a model. And so in my case, I have a script that is looking at this replace string value. And whenever it sees this, it's going to look up in replicated storage the name that's in the value and replace the block with that name. So when I hit enter here on chest, magically there's a chest on each client, even though there's a block on the server. And as I move the block, the chest will move where the block moves. But you'll notice the high-end client sees it animated. The low-end client does not. That's the power of using local scripts, is that you can vary what each client sees. So for clients that can handle it, you can do animations, you can do VFX, you can do particle systems, lighting. You can have all kinds of customizations that the low-end client can turn off so that they don't get bogged down by unnecessary graphics. Their experience isn't as nice, but at least it's working. And here, as I make more and more of these, you'll see more and more chests appear in the clients, but there's still very little data being sent across because the animated pieces aren't being sent from the server to the client. All the animations are done locally. And that's an important piece for when you're writing a simulator, is understanding which parts of the system are important and need to be simulated on the server side, and which parts are just there for cosmetic appearance and can be pushed off to individual clients to process. If you imagine these being items that a user has to collect or destroy, the server doesn't need to know whether they're moving around. The server just needs to know whether or not the player is there and is able to attack or mine or whatever your simulator is doing. One note to remember is that this replicated storage does get copied everywhere, so don't use it as a dumping ground. That will just slow down your load times. So if you have hundreds and hundreds of models in here that you don't need, then that's going to slow down each and every client's load time, and it's not going to be a pleasant experience for the users. It's also has to be mentioned when you're talking about replicated storage that there's also a storage called replicated first. Replicated first works very similarly, where things that are in there will get replicated to every client, but it's the first thing that gets sent over, as the name implies, to the client whenever it joins the game. There is a subtle difference in that the scripts that are housed in replicated first will run. So if you place local scripts in there, they will execute once they get replicated. This is ideal for things like loading screens, and I highly recommend you go read the online documentation about replicated first in order to understand how it fully works. If you like this video and want to see more, please like and subscribe, and leave me any comments on future topics that you'd like me to cover.